everyone. I'm Jess, and I'm the content manager here at Course Report. Course Report is the resource for helping people find the right coding bootcamps for them. You can use the Course Report website to research the best coding bootcamps all over the world, as well as insights on which coding languages to learn, where to apply, and how to fund your very own bootcamp experience. So today I'm speaking with Edgar Ayala, a recent alum from UT Arlington's Cloud Engineering Bootcamp, which is powered by Quickstart. So one of the trademarks of a bootcamp is that students usually build some kind of final project. And so Edgar is going to show us his final project for the Cloud Engineering Bootcamp. So Edgar, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. You just graduated from this Quickstart powered UT Arlington Bootcamp, which means that you were recently working on this final project. But first, I'd love to chat a bit about what inspired you to enroll in UT Arlington's Cloud Engineering Bootcamp. So Edgar, there are so many online bootcamps out there now. What stood out about UT Arlington's bootcamps?
What stood out about UT Arlington is that I already attend UT Arlington.
Oh.
So knowing that UT Arlington would accept a boot camp like the Cloud Engineering Bootcamp for Quickstart really meant a little bit more to me whenever I was doing my bootcamp research. And that's why I chose the UT Arlington Bootcamp.
And just to be clear, I mean, this is a boot camp associated with UT Arlington, but did you get like a degree or like a certificate when you finished?
Yes, you get a certificate that you completed the bootcamp with the UT Arlington College.
So you did cloud engineering. I think a lot of our viewers and readers are familiar with software engineering. So I'd love to know in your own words, what is that difference between software engineering and cloud engineering?
The real difference between software engineering and cloud engineering is that software engineers develop programs, while cloud engineers, they have to create a space to share information. But they kind of do tie a little bit because in cloud engineering, you do have to learn a little bit of code, but not as much as a software engineer.
When you were applying for this cloud engineering boot camp, did you have to know how to code? Like, how hard was the admissions process to get in?
Fortunately, I knew the fundamentals of Python already, so I did not have to learn how to code. But I know the bootcamp does teach you how to code, so you do not need to know how to code off the bat. And then the admissions process was fairly simple. They the bootcamp just recently started whenever I was applying for it, so the admission process, there was no requirements or anything at the moment. I don't know if they're going to do it further on down the line, but I reached out to somebody and I emailed them, and then they set me up with a financial advisor, and then they helped me get set up for the next class, like how long I'd be working on the boot camp per week or how long the camp will last for me. So it was fairly easy and fast.
Just off the top of your head, what did you actually learn in the cloud engineering bootcamp? I'm sure it's a lot, but
The curriculum actually starts you off with the basics of IT. It starts you off with computer hardware, and then it teaches you about the computer itself. And then midway through, it teaches you about the operating systems for the computer. These are just the fundamentals you need to know. So the operating systems like Windows, Linux, or Macs. And then further down in the bootcamp, they teach you about the cloud infrastructure and the cloud services, for example, and you could use AWS, or you could use Azure on Linux, or on Mac, you can use Google. You can use any of those on any platform or any operating system, but they teach you that at the end of the bootcamp.
and was this curriculum, this whole boot camp project based, where like were you doing lots of projects in it, or was it just this final project?
Yes, the bootcamp actually has a total of about five projects that I had to do. I don't know if they would change that later on in the future, but there was a lot of projects, but in between there was quizzes and labs and videos. So I wouldn't say it's fully project based, but there is a total of five projects you have to do in each section that I mentioned in the curriculum.
So this is an online boot camp, and I know a lot of our viewers and readers are always wondering, like, what's the community like in an online boot camp? At the UT Arlington boot camp, were you able to interact with other people in your cohort? And also, how did you interact with the instructors?
Actually, my situation was very rare. I had a few cohort students at the beginning, but for some reason they couldn't continue with the boot camp. So it was just me and the instructor. So that was a very rare situation. But Drew, my instructor, would tell me that there would be a group of cohorts, and then we would always talk to each other and get to know each other since we're going to be doing this boot camp for about maybe almost 6 months.
Okay, so your project is Demo VPC. What problem does Demo VPC solve?
A VPC stands for Virtual Private Cloud. Usually, a company who would use a virtual private cloud would need a extra layer of protection for their servers or applications that they're going to use. And what I'm going to do within the VPC is create two subnets, one public and one private subnet. And then within those subnets, I would create two instances and give those instances access to the internet. So let's go ahead and get started on the AWS Management Console. This is the main home screen. We're going to go to the top left, go to Services, and head down to Networking and Content Delivery. Go to VPC, and we're going to create our VPC. Here's all the things we will use to create our VPC and make it get connected to the internet. So we're going to start off with your VPCs, and then we're going to make the public and private subnet that I was talking about. And then we're going to make route tables for each of those subnets. And then we're going to give internet access to the public subnet with the internet gateway. And then we're going to do a NAT gateway and give internet access to our private subnet. So let's go ahead and start with the VPC. Go to your VPCs. And then on the top right says create VPC. Let's go ahead and create it. We're going to name this VPC Demo 1. And we're going to give an IP address of 10.0.0.0/16. And then that's all we're going to do. And then we're going to create the VPC. And then we're going to check that everything's running smoothly. We're going to press your VPCs, and you can see the state of it is available, so everything's running fine. Now we have to create two subnets within the VPC. So let's go to subnets, and let's create subnet on the top right, and let's make sure it is underneath VPC Demo 1, and we're going to call this public subnet, and we're going to give it a availability zone of US East 1. It really just depends on where you are and which area you're using for this AWS Management Console. And we're going to give it an IP address of 10.0.1.0/24. And we're going to go ahead and create the subnet. And we're going to press on subnet to make sure that everything's running smoothly, available. There we go. Now we have to create a private subnet. So let's go ahead and do the same steps, but under VPC Demo 1. Call this one private subnet. Sorry about that. And then we're going to give it availability zone of US East 1B just to switch it up a little bit. And then we're going to give it an IP address 10.0.2.0/24. There we go. And now we're going to go ahead and make sure that that one's available also. As you can see, the state is available and everything's running smoothly. Now for each of these subnets, we have to create a route table. We're going to go ahead and head to route tables. And don't worry about this one. This one is the default route table. So we're going to go ahead and go to the top right and create a route table. We're going to name this route table public RT, so public route table. And then we're going to make sure it's on VPC Demo 1 and go ahead and create that route table. And then make sure the route table is up there. There we go, public route table. And now we need to make a private route table. So private RT, so private route table. There we go. Under VPC Demo 1, create a route table. And as you can see, both the private route table and the public route tables are there, but we have to associate the route tables for the subnets. So as you can see, there is no subnet associated with each of these, so we're going to go ahead and associate them. It's a public route table. We'll start with that one. Click it, and it'll give you a description at the bottom. And we're going to go to subnet associations. And we're going to edit the subnet association. So the public route table is going to go to the public subnet, and we're going to save it. And as you can see, it says that now it's associated with the subnet. So now we're going to have to do the same thing with the private. Private, go to description, subnet association, edit subnet, and then we're going to connect it to the private subnet. Now both of our route tables are associated with the right subnets, and now we have to give them internet access. So the public subnet can only get internet access from the internet gateway, while the private subnet will only get internet access with the NAT gateway. So let's go ahead and give the public subnet internet. So we're going to go to internet gateways, create an internet gateway. So we're going to name it internet 1. And let's create that internet gateway. Press on internet, make sure everything's fine. As you can see, it says detached. So at the moment, this internet gateway is not detached to any of the VPCs. You can see up here, it even tells you to attach it to a VPC. We can either do it here or go underneath actions and press attach to VPC. And that's exactly what we're going to do, VPC demo 1, and then attach the internet gateway. And you see now it's attached, and now the public subnet does have internet access. So we're going to go ahead and do our private internet now. So we're going to go to NAT gateways. Don't worry about these are deleted. I have done a few of them in the past. So now we're going to do NAT gateways. Create our NAT gateway and name it NAT1. And we're going to associate with the public subnet. So we're going to get internet. So as you can see, the public subnet does have internet. So we're going to use that public internet in our NAT gateway to give our private subnet internet. And then we're going to either press allocate IP, but I already have some allocated, so I would use those. And then we're going to create the NAT gateway. And then we're going to go to NAT gateway. And you can see it's still in a pending state, so we will check on that later. But now we have to route the subnets to each of these internets. So the internet gateway and then the NAT gateway. So we're going to go to route tables. We're going to click on public, and again we're going to go to the details underneath. And then as you can see, it says routes here. We have to route this public route table to the internet gateway. And then we're going to have to route the private route table to the NAT gateway. So we're going to go ahead and route the public one, put routes, edit routes, and we're going to give it a route of 0.0, which is anywhere. And then we're going to target the internet gateway since it's the public. There we go. Save the changes. And now it's associated right here down at the bottom with that, and it's active. Now we'll go back to the route table, then we have to do the private one. Press private, down details, routes, edit routes, and add a route, 0.0. And then we're going to go down to NAT gateway. And now both of those are routed to the right places. And now we need to create the EC2 instance within the VPCs. That way our EC2 instances can connect to the internet. So we're going to go ahead and go to services, go to EC2, and then go to instances right here on the left side. So usually I don't have to create my own security groups. The instances will create its own security groups. So we're going to go ahead and launch the instances on top right. And then we're going to do a free tier. For all this, we're going to be doing free tiers. So we'll go ahead and keep going with the free tiers. And then we're going to make sure the network is connected to VPC demo 1. And then the subnet is connected to the public. We'll start with the public and give it an IP address. There we go. Next, we're going to add the storage. We're not going to worry about the storage. We're not going to worry about the tags. And as you can see, it says security groups next up. And as you can see, Launch Wizard 1 is the next security group. So this will create its own security groups for the EC2 instances. So we're going to go ahead and review and launch, and then launch this. And then it's going to ask you about a key pair. So key pairs are extra protection for your EC2 instances, so nobody else can have access to it but you. Or if you give out the key pair, they can only have access to it. So we're going to go ahead and acknowledge it and launch the instance. And we're going to view instances, and you can see it says pending, and we're going to name this one We're gonna name it public EC2. Didn't do that fast enough. Public EC2. Okay, that's weird. Public EC2. I'm gonna give it one more try. There we go. Public EC2, and let's go ahead and do our private EC2. So go launch instances, and we're gonna do the exact same steps. And gonna use all the free tiers again. But here we're gonna change a little bit on the configure this time. Keep it on VPC demo 1, but this is gonna be our private subnet. And we're gonna enable the public IP also. And then we're gonna do storage, add tag, and then do security groups. And you can see now it says launch wizard too, so each one has its own different type of security groups. Just depends. Now we're gonna go to review and launch. And we're gonna go ahead and launch this. And again, it's gonna ask you about the key pair. You can use a different one for this EC2 instance or use the same one. In this case, I'm gonna use the same one. Go ahead and launch the instance. And then view the instances. And then we're gonna name this one private EC2. There we go, private EC2. Now we have the private running, or the public running, and the private still pending. So we're going to go ahead and press on public EC2 and make sure we have internet connection. We're going to go ahead and connect, and then connect one more time. And it should connect to the internet. There we go. It says we're connected. But to double check, we're going to go ahead and ping Google. So we're going to ping www.google.com. As you can see, we're getting packets back or bytes back. And that's how we make sure we're connected to internet. So we're going to go ahead and get out of this one. Go ahead and go back to the EC2. Go to instances and make sure that the other one's running. So now private EC2 is running and public EC2 is running. So now that both of those are running, we're going to go back and check the VPC. So we're going to go down, all the way down, back to networking, and then press VPC. And before we had no security groups, so this time we're going to go down to security groups. And as you can see, both of the launch wizards are the security groups. And then the NAT gateways, everything is still available. We just have to make sure everything is still attached. Now we're done with the whole network part, but we still need storage. So we need to do S3 storage. So we're going to go down and we're going to look for the S3. I'm going to go to the left side and press the S3, so excuse me. And now we have to make a bucket. Usually you come here and just create a bucket, but we're going to use cloud formation to make a bucket. So we're going to go down to management here and go to cloud formation. You can also make EC2s or anything on AWS with cloud formations. Cloud formation is basically code. Is basically code for each application that you want to use. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use templates ready. Usually Amazon does have its own samples right here, but I only want an S3 sample. I don't want a whole sample. So we're gonna go ahead. Template is ready. We're gonna go to upload. I have a file for this, so we're gonna go ahead and press the S3 bucket that I have, YML. And I'm gonna upload it, and I'll show you the code that I was talking about. We're gonna go ahead and press View in Designer. And this is the code I'm talking about. This is just a simple S3 bucket. And then right here you can see it says digital and it says bucket. And then usually it's branched out more complex. The code will be more complex. So this will be a part of the section where you would need to learn a little bit code, but at the moment you will not need that. Usually the AWS Management Console will do it for you. They always have templates and everything for you. So we're gonna go ahead and upload it. And then we're back here in this section, press next, and we're gonna name this stack just S3. No reason to go too complicated. Press next, and you can also add a key and then a value, but we're not gonna do anything. And then permissions, the IAM roles. So usually you could give permissions to certain people if you like. It just depends on the company. And we're gonna press next. We're not gonna mess with it. Press next one more time, create stack. And as you can see, it says create in progress. And then we could refresh it, and then it's still creating. So now we can go back to the S3. And as you can see, there was no buckets here before, and now there's a bucket. Usually you can make the bucket private, but I made it public since it doesn't really matter to me. I will delete this afterward. And so here we go. We have the whole VPC that we created. We created the VPC. We created the subnet, the public subnet, the private subnet. We did create the instances in each of those subnets, and we created internet access to it, and a bucket to store anything else.
So, Edgar, how has the UT Arlington Bootcamp prepared you for the job hunt?
Actually, I'm currently going through the job hunt process at the moment. So what happens is after you're heading towards the end of the boot camp, a career services of Quickstart would contact you through email, and then they would ask for your resume, and then also a meeting to set up to go over your resume, your LinkedIn, and maybe a GitHub for your projects. And then they would help you through it, and then they also do one-on-one mock interviews.
Do you anticipate using this final project during job interviews, like bringing it up as a talking point?
Oh, absolutely. I think being able to showcase my final project shows that I have a very comfortable understanding of the AWS Management Console and the cloud services.
And since you're on the job hunt now, what are those like job titles that you're looking for? Is it cloud engineer? And then are there other sort of tech roles you feel qualified for?
There's a lot of tech roles that I would be qualified for. I could just be a basic IT person, since the bootcamp does teach you everything from basic IT, CompTIA A to a little bit of security. So there's a lot of roles, but I think the main role that I would be looking at would either be uh, cloud solution architect or cloud support.
Looking back on this boot camp journey and now that you're starting the job hunt, what do you feel like the biggest challenge has been so far?
I think the biggest challenge whenever doing the boot camp was actually getting used to the technology changing. The technology is always changing. So being able to be comfortable with it changing and not freaking out about it is something that was very difficult to get used to. Because one day your internet or you get connected to the internet, but everything changes and now you're not connected.
Do you have any advice or tips for other people who are just now considering getting into cloud engineering?
I think that they should definitely do it. They just have to push forward through the tech environment, like I was mentioning. I think being able to know cloud and be able to be comfortable with it is very important to companies because most companies are trying to move all their services into the cloud because it's very cheaper. They don't have to buy new areas for servers or anything or like applications.
For anyone who's coming into these UT Arlington boot camps or specifically the cloud engineering boot camp, do you have any advice for them? Like anything you wished you'd known before day one of the boot camp?
Oh, I think that the name boot camp is very out there and people don't understand that it's very difficult. You really have to put a lot of time into it. I wish somebody would have told me that. I would have been a little bit more prepared for it because at the beginning I would do it, and then some days it would not take me long to do some of the videos and quizzes and labs, but then other weeks it'd be maybe on the lab would take me 2 to 3 days to finish it in a row, and it's just something that I had to push through. That the advice would be just push through it. It's hard, but push through it.
Yeah, like on average, how many hours a week were you spending on your boot camp studies?
About 20 to 30 hours a week. Yeah, it was. It depends on the person because you could do the part time boot camp. They offered it to me, but I did the full time. So I was spending almost full time on the boot camp.
Looking back on this journey that you have gone through already and are still going through at the moment, do you feel like enrolling at the UT Arlington boot camp was worth it for you?
Oh yes, I came out knowing a lot more than what I didn't know at the beginning. Just seeing myself be able to create this project that I wouldn't have been able to do 4 to 6 months ago, it's impressive to me. In just a small amount of time, I learned so much.
And that's an excellent place to wrap up this project spotlight. Thank you so much, Edgar, for talking with me today and sharing your bootcamp experience with all of us. And best of luck in your job search. So we will be posting a recording and a transcript of this video interview on the Course Report blog, as well as contact information for UT Arlington Bootcamps, which is powered by Quickstart, just in case you're inspired by Edgar's journey and you'd like to apply for one of their upcoming cohorts. And thanks so much to all of you for watching. Tweet at us, email us, let us know which topic you'd like us to cover next on the Course Report blog. And in the meantime, follow Course Report on Facebook and Twitter. And if you're a bootcamp alum, don't forget to post a review of your own bootcamp experience on Course Report. Your review is a huge help to anyone thinking of getting into tech today.